Hi, welcome back to Tammy Talks About. So in part one of these two videos, we talked about the 3 ways a narcissist manipulates their partners in a relationship. And we're just going to finish up on that today. In that first video, I used an article, and it was 3 ways that narcissists manipulate partners. And so I'm just going to quickly go over them in case you missed anything. But if you haven't watched the first one, please go back and watch it. I'm not qualified at all to diagnose anyone, and that I'm aware of, she's not been diagnosed as a narcissist. But I do find that in comparing her actions to the characteristics of a narcissist and using the 3 ways that they give here as an example, it's very interesting, and it really sheds light on it. And if nothing else, because this is all things that is already known, but if nothing else, if somebody comes across this video who has no idea what is going on as far as AH and Johnny, it might help them in recognizing that in a possible partner. So I feel it's important for us to talk about. I feel that it's something that 9 times out of 10, I think all of us who have been involved with someone like that, you don't see it in the beginning. And it's just something that if we can possibly try, maybe we will catch it, and before we get involved with it, be able to stop it before it starts. Even for our loved ones, we might recognize it before they do, and maybe we can help them. Maybe you can steer them to a video like this, or even my video, preferably my video. But you can steer them to someone or a video like this that might help them recognize it. So let's just jump back into it. I'm just going to go over what we went over yesterday kind of quickly with them, and we'll finish up. So the first one they gave was jealousy. And I used the example of how she made Johnny jealous with her co-stars in some of her movies and with a certain musky person. And I also talked about Franco and Billy Bob. So the thing is, with Muskie, there is evidence that he was making late night visits to the condominium that her and Johnny shared within a month of them being married. Now, let me just state also that the evidence shows that Johnny was away filming. So not only was he there late at night, but he was there when Johnny wasn't there. So it wasn't like he was going to visit his friend Johnny. He was going to visit AH, of course. This became so frequent that she even had him a fob made so that he could get into their parking garage and get onto their private elevator without having to notify security. So apparently he was a pretty frequent visitor. There was definitely something going on, which in fact, once she filed for divorce, she immediately made it public that they were dating. So there had been something going on with Muskie from at least a month after she married her love, Johnny. Well, in that relationship, only one person loved the other, and it was not AH. The second thing that they used is guilt. And in my first video, I talked about how on more than one occasion, she, in the audios that are evidence, we've heard this, but on more than one occasion, she would try to turn her violence and his leaving once things became violent into, she would turn it on him by saying, but I'm fighting for us. Why aren't you fighting for us? You just don't have the fight for it. She would try to make him feel guilty for doing the right thing. He walked away when she became violent. But she didn't like that, and so she used it against him by using guilt. And another way she used guilt, I guess, is when she knew he was ready to file for divorce. Well, she had to get the jump. She had to get the jump on him. And in one of the audios, the divorce has already been filed for. They're already talking, and Johnny, in this audio, he's still trying to protect her. He's telling her, this is not something we have to do. You go your way, I go my way. Just please don't do this. And she even says to him, I'm trying to defend my integrity or keep my integrity. I'm not sure she knows what the definition of that word is. She uses that as her excuse as to why she has to fight him in court. And it's because, his team was releasing things and his team was doing this, and she didn't have any choice because her integrity was at stake. And then she would qualify, but I don't want to ruin you. I love you, babe. She was just trying to guilt him out over the fact that how dare he fight her on divorce? How dare he even question? Just give her what she wants is basically what she was doing. And she even goes on to say during the audio, well, I just expect that the next thing will be that the tabloids will know that I was a stripper. And in that moment, you hear Johnny's anger at the fact that she supposedly had trusted him, telling him that she was a stripper at one time in her past. And let me just say, what you do with your life is your business. There's nothing wrong with it. But she played it up to Johnny. This is one of those manipulating things characteristics of a narcissist. She played it up to him that she was embarrassed by it and she didn't want the world to know that that's what she did because she wants to have a good reputation in Hollywood, blah, 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 blah. And when she says this to Johnny, you can just hear the hurt and the anger at the fact that she would dare even think that he would do something like tell the tabloids that she was a stripper. And which this is not what the video is about, but for me, that's another one of those things that just tells you the characteristics of Johnny. He's a good man, and he's an honorable man, and so that really offended him, basically. And the other characteristic they used or the way they manipulate, is with threats. And, in the first video, I talked about Poopgate and her filing for a divorce first. But what about the only time she's ever honest with him? I did a video. It's called The Only Time H Was Ever Honest with Johnny. I highly suggest you watch that. But and I go into it more in detail. I'll go into it a little bit here, but really watch it. It's a great video. I'm pretty proud of that one. But in this audio, she basically says to him that it's a ridiculous possibility. But I believe that it was a threat. I really do, because she says to him, I would be faking bruises, taking pictures, texting friends and family so that the dates would match up, would correlate to the pictures. As that conversation continued, she does say, I have texts that are date stamps and correlate with incidents. And she uses a James Gordon show as her example when I think she's trying to get her life straight in her head, and she's trying to convince herself as well of what really happened. And she even says, there are people who would be willing to testify now. So basically what she's telling him right here is, you're going to give me what I want, and what I want is divorce, and I want to take you for as much money as possible, and I want the clout of having been your wife. And if you don't quietly go away and let me become the star that I want to be, because I can't get it on my own merits. Well, that's extra. That was my adding. But she's basically telling him, you either do it this way, you do it my way, or I'm going to destroy you. And, she even, in that same audio, she goes on and she mocks him. And this is part of that audio that it irritates me to no end. She says to him at one point, tell the world, Johnny, tell the world and a judge that you were a victim. And then she goes on to say, no, And so she says, "Tell the world, Johnny. Tell the world you're a victim. Tell the judge you're a victim." And she has the audacity to say, "No one will believe you." It infuriates me, but that's for another video. It's not what we're talking about right now. But before we finish up, this article did go on a little further, and there are some very interesting comparisons to a narcissist that we can make with AH, and so let's just talk about them real fast. It says narcissists who are especially good at winning the affection and praise of others are likely to have a lot of broken relationships. They're good at hooking potential partners in the hopes of finding someone bigger and better to make the narcissist feel bigger and better. That just amazes me. It goes on to say they will also work to ensure that each new conquest believes that they were the victim in the past breakups. Sound familiar? It's just another simple yet accurate comparison to her. I mean, we know from the testimony of the guard from the Eastern Columbia building that within a month of her and Johnny getting married, Muskie's making late night visits to the penthouse. And it even goes on to the point that she requests a key fob be made for him so that they don't have to be told whenever he shows up and needs to get into the building and to get into their private elevator. We also know from the text that Muskie believed that Johnny had been assaulting, we'll say, her because he offers her at one point 24-hour security. So that just lines up exactly. And Johnny's witness statement, and that's what I'm fixing to read to you. This is from Johnny's witness statement. "She was extremely friendly to me and keen to tell me about the breakup with her former partner that she had recently gone through. She was beautiful, seemingly interested in me and my work, and I fell for it. She bombed me with what appeared to be love." It breaks my heart to read that because it just screams that, which he already knew after he got out of the relationship and stuff, but as he's either writing or telling this to someone to write for him, you can tell he's reliving it, and he's reliving the fact that he's basically been duped. I mean, then that's what this entire thing was. He fell in love with this woman because of her manipulations. And I guess some men find her attractive. I think she's butt ugly personally, but that's my own personal opinion. But you can tell in just this statement that he realizes that she just used him, and it still hurts him, I would imagine. But does that not really line up with what we just talked about in the behaviors of a narcissist? And we're going to talk about one last characteristic that I found in an article from Psychology Today, and the article is titled, "Does a Narcissist Believe His or Her Own Lies?" And this was posted on June 18, 2019. It says, "Narcissists live and die by their own version of the truth." Wow. As soon as I read that, I was like, oh my goodness. Does this sound familiar? Well, this is my truth. And that's what she's claiming, when people's called her on that this is all a big bunch of lies. She's just said, well, it's my truth. I'm living my truth. And for a narcissist, their lie is their truth. And I mean, we could spend hours and probably video after video after video comparing her actions in just this case, in just the evidence alone that has been presented. We could spend all the time in the world talking about how it compares up with her. And I think this is it paints a pretty good picture of who she is. And even though, let me just say she's not been diagnosed that I'm aware of. I'm not qualified to diagnose her, but, call a spade. And I mean, I think this is a very good picture of what she did to a good and decent man. And then she turns around and tries to destroy him. And she very nearly did. Had people not questioned, like the people in this community who have stood up and said, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, her truth would have been what the world believed. And I'm just so glad that it's being found out and it's being shown to the world that her truth is nothing but a lie. And I hope that in this, that people, especially men who are in or have been in these relationships, I hope that it builds up their confidence. I hope it encourages them to fight the person that's done this to them. It's a horrible, horrible situation, but nobody has the right to do those kind of things to anyone. Okay, I'm going to stop there before I get on my soapbox and we're here for another couple of hours. In our live stream last night, one of the things that I said is maybe we should be sending some good vibes to Johnny in hopes that the upcoming trial goes well. And I honestly, for once, I think I have a good idea. I think that every day we should just take a minute and just send something positive Johnny's way and put it out into the world. And not just with Johnny, but in your lives. But I'm not going to go into all that either. But just take a minute today and give yourself a little bit of love. Do something for yourself. However simple or extravagant it may be, but spend a little time on you. You'll be amazed at how much better your day will go. So I thank you for sticking with me through this a little bit long video. I've got some more coming. We're going to talk about Johnny next. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe, become part of this community. Please share this video, leave me a comment, tell me something you would like to talk about. I've got some other things coming up and I hope you'll enjoy it. But until next time, you have a blessed day. Thank you.